Hello everyone. Before I get into the video today, I want to welcome all the new subscribers. We have surged past my goal for 500 in a very short time. So thank you to Omegon for the shout out, but more importantly, thank you, the viewers, for subscribing. I will do my best to keep the content coming. Now then, with that in mind, I found a series of different news stories pointing to a very ominous and mildly amusing conclusion. You see, the World Health Organization is just coming off its 2019 summit, and with it came a new version, or update rather, to the diseases we know and classify in our modern society. The most notable revelations came in the forms of burnout, being classified as a disease, as well as gaming disorder. This led me to one very clear conclusion. Being a YouTuber is a medically assumed disorder. Yes, that is mostly sarcasm and tongue-in-cheek commentary, but in a strange sense, it is also a very real possibility that these three things are in fact correlated. Let us go into the articles about each of these revisions and see if you can see more clearly what we are talking about. From CBS News, World Health Organization makes gaming disorder a medical addiction. It reads, playing video games to excess is now a medical condition recognized as an addiction disorder by the World Health Organization. The WHO has updated its official diagnostic manual to include gaming disorder. Importantly, the new diagnosis isn't just gaming too much. According to the WHO definition, gaming disorder becomes a disorder when it interferes with daily life. That's seen when a person loses control around gaming, prioritizes gaming over other interests and daily activities, and continues gaming despite negative effects on work, schooling, family life, or social relationships. In most cases, a person needs to show 12 months of symptoms to receive the diagnosis, according to the WHO guidelines. Now, before we go any further, I remember reading about this early on, and I believe I had talked about it on stream with Omegon, but it was so long ago that I honestly cannot remember. Regardless, the problem I had with it back then was that the wording was terribly vague. For example, what does it mean that gaming disorder, quote, interferes with daily life? What if daily life revolves around gaming? What is wrong with prioritizing gaming over other hobbies? And I will get into more of these issues as the article continues. The video game industry has loudly opposed this classification since the WHO first proposed it in 2018. The Entertainment Software Association, which represents video game makers in the US, said that a gaming disorder designation recklessly trivializes real mental health issues, which I have to say is a damning yet true statement. Even some flagrant diagnoses of ADHD is trivializing those with actual attention problems. And additionally, the fact that digital media is addictive has less to do with it being an addictive element like nicotine or gambling, but rather it is fun and enjoyable. Plus, real life kinda sucks. But many mental health professionals say that's not the case. Dr. Richard Graham, a technology addiction specialist at the Nightingale Hospital in London, told the BBC last year that he sees about 50 new cases of digital addiction annually. To determine whether someone has the disorder, he looks at whether their digital life is interfering with work, sleep, socializing, or education, he told the BBC. Gaming disorder is not about the number of hours played. It's when gaming takes precedence over health, hygiene, relationships, finances, etc. Gaming itself is not a disorder, Dr. John Zhao, a emergency medical doctor, explained on Twitter. The American Psychiatric Association estimates that between 0.3% and 1% of the world's population suffers from gaming disorder, or upwards of 75 million. Well, they were at least kind enough to separate gaming from individuals with no self-control. But I argue that these people have addictive personalities to start with, and I wouldn't be shocked to find out that gaming addiction has replaced or is accompanied by another addiction. Gaming disorder, in my humble opinion, is therefore a symptom, not its own disorder. But let's move on to burnout. Most people know what burnout is, but CNN gave us 3 little bullet points, so let's take a look. Burnout now appears in the ICD-11's section on problems related to employment or unemployment. According to the handbook, doctors can diagnose someone with burnout if they meet the following symptoms. 1. Feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion. 2. Increased mental distance from one's job or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job. 3. Reduced professional efficacy. Before making the call, the document says, doctors should first rule out adjustment disorder as well as anxiety and mood disorders, and the diagnosis is limited to work environments and shouldn't be applied to other life situations. I made sure to mention that last part because this classification I have a hard time discerning one way or the other. I have felt burnout. That feeling when I just want to stop doing everything, lie down, and just hibernate forever. Some have another word for that. But I am also a relatively young millennial, and it seems our culture to be this way, which in turn makes me worry that this is a reaction to a generation and not actually a disorder as some claim it to be. However, at the same time, because they differentiate it with anxiety and other mood disorders, it makes me curious as to what the differing factor is. I personally do not have the research either in front of me or in my own personal experience and lifetime to be able to make heads or tails of it, so I am unsure. So, what does this have to do with YouTube and being a YouTuber? Well, invariably, one of your favorite YouTubers has needed a break or has felt burnout. Either commentators like myself and Ire Bear, for instance, or even folks like Philip DeFranco and Markiplier. Basically, everyone needs a vacation after a while, right? But the odd part comes when you mention these two classifications together. A person who suffers from gaming disorder has the potential to shirk real-life duties, finances, other hobbies, etc. And it's not unusual for gaming YouTubers and streamers to be going on for hours upon hours on Twitch or on YouTube, or constantly making content where they never get to actually enjoy the things they're doing. And so we see this eventually end in a burnout fashion, usually in some form of channel update video. And don't get me wrong, I do not think that being a streamer necessitates that you eventually have a burnout. Some have very strict but reasonable schedules, and they seem to do perfectly fine with them. But others do not. My thoughts on the whole thing boils down to the idea that a certain kind of person can juggle all the balls at once. A special kind of person is able to balance work, YouTube, hobbies, social life, sleep, etc., and still be a quote-unquote happy person. Some people train themselves to be that way, but there are those who simply cannot keep up, and let's be perfectly honest, if anyone who watches me is also a YouTuber, they may be able to provide their own insight, but this shit ain't easy. Especially for someone with a day job and a family. It's no wonder those with these handicaps get burnt out faster. There is simply not enough self-care. So if I'm going to leave you with any advice at the end of this video, it's to remember to take time for yourself. You are the only you that exists in this world, and even if you are just a voice online, people notice when certain voices aren't the same. So, please take time to enjoy life. But that's it. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you all for joining me this evening, and I will see you all soon.